Welcome to Apples Magazine. This show, entitled Paraeducators at Work, is about recognizing the value of the role of paraeducators in classrooms. The success of the children is dependent upon the amount of support we offer. A paraeducator is a valuable resource, not only for the teacher, but for the children we serve. The relationship of the teacher and paraeducator is essential to the success of everyone in the classroom. Traditionally referred to as aide, teacher's aide, teacher's assistant, classroom helper, paraprofessional, parapro, or even para. IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, gives us the term paraeducator.
Roles and responsibilities.
I think the role as a paraprofessional, we're vital to the team, and we are the first line of support for our students. And so it's important for us to have open communication with all team members, not just our teacher, but the case manager, the OT, the PT, speech, because we generally spend the most time with our students. So I think we need to be included in the process, if at all possible. And as a paraprofessional, I do this because I love to see the change in the kids, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to help kids on their ways, and again, to get them to the point where they don't need us. They can do it on their own, and they meld in with the crowd. You wouldn't be able to pick them out. That's my goal.
Making sure they understand their roles and responsibilities. And that may look differently in every school, but for me it encompasses having an understanding from the principal, the assistant principal, from the case manager, from the gen ed teacher, from the special ed teacher, from the resource providers, as to what are my roles and responsibilities when I come into this job. What are my expectations? What should my job look like? Where does my job begin? Where does my job stop? What should it look like? What should it sound like? So having that time to talk to them, being proactive versus reactive, is important so that I understand, am I doing the job and am I doing it correctly?
At the beginning of a school year, I will provide them with information and a plan that we want to start off with, and we develop roles and what I expect from them, the kind of cueing they should be providing, the kind of supports that they will be expected to have from myself and other therapists working with the child. And then we regularly update them so that they know how I want that child supported as they progress, and then we can modify their existing role with the students. So it is an ever-changing role, but they always know what it is, and we update it very regularly. In communicating with parents, some of my parapros do take individual data for their students, so they will do tally marks, make notes, comments on specific behaviors that take place in the classroom, things related to their students' IEP goals or objectives. So they will make comments and notes on that. I do review them and sign them, so make sure that anything that they're sending home is something that I would send home as well. So I do trust them to make those notes, and then I do sign off on them, so I'm aware. They also are welcome to answer phone calls and answer any questions that would not require me to be answering them. So if there's a specific comment about a student, if they had an issue of the day, I do go ahead and let them have that communication with parents. They don't give out any confidential information or anything like that, but they do both written and verbal communication with parents, even in pick-up and drop-off times. If the parents have a quick question, they know everything that I know, so they're welcome to kind of answer as much as they can. They know the limits, though, of what's more confidential, what's teacher-based, and then they will let a parent know that they do need to contact me for an answer. My parapros do participate in IEP meetings if it works with their schedule and if they're available to. I have had them come in for my students who are more who have more needs, and who it's really beneficial for the parapro to participate, because they have just as much information, if not more, than I have, because they work with the students so closely every day. So they do come, they do offer information, and they're able to kind of describe from the outside what it's looking like for that student. So I have had them participate in the past.
I think there should be a conversation with the team around how do I communicate with this family that I'm going to get to know so well. They've given me their child for 200 days out of the year. So there might be a nice opportunity during your interview or as you become a new employee to talk about, how do I communicate with them effectively? How do I not violate confidentiality? And all this information that I am getting to know about this student, how can I share it? Will I maybe be at a parent-teacher conference as a member of the team? Will I be with my teacher and maybe write up part of the recommendations? Will I be able to give input on some of the observations that I've seen? Can I share that, or is that not what you want me to do? Students have IEP meetings, which are individualized education program meetings every year. And the question might be, do you see me as being a member of that team at that meeting? And what would be appropriate for me to report upon? And I think that they're there with our children. They spend a lot of time with our kids. They know our children. So those are good questions to ask so that you know what the future looks like.
My expectations of the teacher in the classroom are that she has a schedule for us to follow through the day so that we know what's coming next. Also that she gives us feedback and lets us know what she thinks is working and what's not, so that I can fix what's wrong, or let me know when I'm doing something really well so that I can keep on doing it.
Experiencing conflict with parapros has been something that has happened in my classroom before. And what we all just try to do is step back and figure out first, what's the problem, why are we having the problem, and how do we fix it? Does that person need specific support? Are we missing something? Did we not train them enough in this area? And we'll step all the way back and go through everything all over again. So however it is necessary, we do it. And there are little times where someone will drop the ball and we'll have to go back and say, remember we were doing this, let's make sure we get back on track with this. Did you remember to do this? But it's not, we don't have a lot of internal conflict because everyone knows that they need to be open to learning from each other. So it does happen at times, but it's not anything that we don't control, and we confront it immediately because it's what's beneficial for the students. It's not about us, it's about the kids.
High expectations for all children.
We can help students achieve the Illinois Early Learning Standards and their IEP goals when we meet our responsibility of having high expectations for them. Utilizing the valuable resources and skills of our paraeducators, we are enabling our students to reach their full potential for independence, social development, and academic growth. Providing accommodations, modifications, adaptations, such as breaks, sensory input, and other creative methods, we promote student learning and independence. These best practices provide opportunities for all students, especially those with disabilities. Informed teaching, planning, encouraging, coaching, taking risks, and incorporating other such tools give the supports that lead to better outcomes for all children.
Valued team member.
As paraprofessionals, we do have constant input on how we feel our students are doing on their goals. Are they reaching that quarterly goal? Do we need to take a look at it again? As far as our team goes, our teacher and the speech pathologist, the occupational physical therapist, they will all come to us as we work with these students and ask us how we feel they're doing with those, or if we need to tweak those goals, or we need to relook at that. Is it not appropriate at that time? So we do have input as far as how we feel our students are doing and what we need to look at and how we need to progress with those goals.
I feel that in some cases paraprofessionals aren't necessarily used in the way that they can be most effective to the classroom and to the students. I feel that they are just an extension of myself, and I'm not there to lead them, to be the boss. We are a team, and so I think that they can gather just as valuable information as I can gather, and sometimes they see more because I can't look at 10 kids all at one time, and especially when there's other needs involved, they can from behind say, this is happening when you're doing this, I see this, and their information is incredibly valuable to me because for the amount of data that I have to collect and for the amount of information that I gather, I could not do it by myself. So they are really just a true extension of me. They know everything I'm going to do. They know everything I'm going to say, and I know what they're going to do. So we are not operating in different realms. We definitely work together, and I think that parapros in classrooms should be welcomed to participate that way because I think sometimes they're viewed as just an aid to help that student, when in reality, if they're not connected to what the classroom teacher is doing or what's really going on with the particular student and they're just there to assist them, the connection isn't there, and they don't build those relationships and build the ability to gather information that's useful to the benefit of the child.
For paraeducators, I think it's a bit difficult to come into that position and to understand the special ed process. It's difficult for all of us who've been in special ed for many years to keep up with goals, objectives, IEPs, IDEA, NCLB. It's endless. The ABCs in special ed are endless. So having that relationship with the certified teacher and with the team so that they have an understanding of the law, of parents' rights, of students' rights, and what the IEP, which stands for Individual Education Program, stands for is important. And I hope that the team is supporting that paraeducator in maybe a walkthrough of what each student's IEP looks like, what their goals look like, the steps that they will take in supporting each student to reach their goals. That would bring everybody to the same page, and that's what would make the planning meetings so important, is that the paraeducator would understand the IEP goals and the objectives, and everybody would be working towards the same thing.
I think that anytime you come to a new team, there's always a process of getting to work as a team and learning how to work as a team. And this team works incredibly well now. Initially, no, it didn't, because it's always a process of getting there. But I think now, you know, Kelly has very good expectations of what everybody's roles in the classroom are. And I think she's really good at treating everybody who works in the classroom as an equal. And we all have a valid opinion on the children, and that's what working as a team really is. So, and it's a hard thing for parents to understand when they first come to the early childhood program, because many of them come from a clinical setting where, you know, it's one-on-one with the speech therapist, and so understanding that when I'm not in the classroom, my goals and objectives are being carried out is something that I kind of have to help them understand. And not only that, but how important it is for the children to learn to use language in a natural setting.
Interpersonal skills.
We must rely on our interpersonal skills if we are to experience a good working environment and compatibility with our coworkers. When working in a classroom with children, they are intrinsically able to pick up on conflict as well as contentment. Using one of the most important skills of active listening, we are able to impart to those around us a sense of security, leadership, and understanding, which in turn provide a stimulating, nurturing, and educational environment for our students. Various components of interpersonal skills include listening to our students, the teacher, our coworkers, students' families, all support staff, and our school administrators. Other aspects of interpersonal skills include our flexibility to adapt to all situations, our ability to take and follow direction. Communication between all staff involved in the classroom is our key to success. We must all work together to be good problem solvers to ensure compatibility for a cohesive working environment.
Education-wise, they all have varying levels and they've all had varying backgrounds, but the one thing they all do have in common is that they've had some participation with students with special needs, whether that be personally or impersonally through other people. But I think socially and personally, they're all able to be very flexible and work on a team. I think it's so necessary that they understand how to work with other people, how to take direction, how to accept some redirection from people, and be able to work together. Personally, you have to have that ability to not be offended if someone tells you that something didn't go right, or and not be embarrassed to say, I don't know, and I need your help. And something that we work really hard on is being able to work with each other on that and kind of know if you can see someone struggling, to kind of step in there. So it's definitely a team process, but I believe personally having the social skills to understand that this is a team process and I'm able to accept change and I need to be flexible. Flexibility is absolutely key for being a good solid parapro in a classroom, because it's never the same every day.
I think that paraeducators, we see they just don't stay in their field very long. And when you look back at the data, I think there's a lot of reasons. Maybe they haven't had the opportunity to grow and to get additional professional development so that they feel like they're making progress in their work. Maybe they feel isolated. Maybe they're not invited into the planning meeting so that they can be proactive versus reactive to what's happening in the classroom. Maybe they don't have good communication between their team. Maybe they haven't been allowed to build that relationship within their school. And I think those all are factors that cause people to leave. So I would hope that they leave themselves open to that. They think about that relationship. They think about their own interpersonal skills, that they are open to whatever comes their way.
I would really like to see teachers communicate and incorporate the paraprofessional role into not just Xeroxing, being used more as in helping all students in the classroom. The kids notice that, whether they're helping one-on-one or they're helping 3 or 2 students, the kids in the classroom know that. And it's nice to be able to see them raise their hand and ask for help and be able to go over there and know what work they're working on and answer that question, and then to step back and they feel comfortable. If they feel comfortable, they're going to go on to the next thing, next task, and realize, I can do this. Somebody's there if I have a question. Some children are not apt to raise their hand if they don't know. If they don't have any resource, they're not going to ask.
And that means when one of us does leave, one of us is absent, seamlessly someone else can step in and take over that student's roles. So it's really my teacher preparing us for our jobs, and in turn that helps her do her job.
Confidentiality.
School districts throughout the nation are required to protect the confidentiality of personally identifiable information of each student. Personally identifiable information includes, but is not limited to, name, address, family members, or characteristics that may identify a child. The Illinois Administrative Code dictates that anyone collecting or using identifiable information shall receive training regarding the state and individual schools' policies, ensuring that all information is protected. Each classroom teacher should have discussions with her paraeducators on how and when information is shared. Best practices indicates that communication to and from school should be addressed in an IEP meeting. In any community, whether it is large or small, it is vital that any information about students should be discussed only within the parameters of the law. An example of a breach of confidentiality could be something as simple as inadvertently sharing information about a 5-year-old student only identified as having Down syndrome.
Planning time.
Paraeducators and teachers have an opportunity to plan, we hope, sometime during the week, so that the general educator can share the lesson plan, and then that para would know the students that need some adaptations or a little bit of support. And during that planning time, they might have a chance to talk about what that looks like for each child, because it may look different for every child.
We consult with the other service providers in the classroom as often as possible. Our speech therapist participates in our classroom 3 full days a week. So she's always in the room and always giving us guidance on articulation or different things that she wants us working on with the student, and we're doing speech for her when she's not in the room. So she'll give us keys to look for or visuals to use for snack time or anything to kind of promote the children's language. OT-wise, we will meet with them on as regular as we can. She's in our room also 3 days a week, pops in and does some integrated types of things, so we're able to ask questions. She'll provide us with a written, detailed sensory diet with the rationale for why we're doing it, show us all of the protocols and procedures, and when it's not working or if we need to change it, we do. And we just meet and we make the time necessary to do that. So we do meet during our planned time, but we also meet whenever necessary to make adaptations or modifications to a child's program as we need to.
I think the planning time that we have, we use, and I'd like to think that we're successful because of that planning time and how we use it. We're always working ahead of the game. We're always looking at different ways we can approach a task, and our teacher is very good at finding new ways to engage them and different ways instead of doing the same activity time and again. Usually we have a very diverse curriculum.
When I think about my transitions and how I've made my classroom the way it is, I think first and foremost is planning and instruction. I think the teacher and the team have to be very aware of what the planning is and what the instructional goals are for the day that you're, or even for the week that you're participating in. Because without planning, you yourself are unsure of where you're going and what you're going to do. I think secondly is routine, not just routine, this is what we do, but a routine, this is our schedule, this is how we follow it, these are embedded songs and transitional tools that we use, and this is how we will get kids from point A to point B. I've worked really hard with the parapros. We sit down and we look at a schedule, does this work? And I try really hard to do like an up and down scheduling. So we'll do a little bit of table time, and then they'll get that play time to kind of move around, and we do a seated activity. Then they go to music where they're up and moving, then they come back and we'll do a seated activity. So I try to make it real up and down so it's rhythmic for them, so I'm not having them sitting for long periods of time, which kind of eases their transition into the next activity. But I think being planned, being prepared, and having a good solid routine that works for the kids, not for me, that works for the kids, is what allows us to transition as smoothly as we do.
Promoting student learning.
One of the things that paraeducators could talk about while they're sitting there at their planning lessons might be how they support students. Many times, if you're observing in a classroom, you may see the paraeducator sitting right next to the student, and maybe the student doesn't need that much support. So we should think about only supporting when a student needs support.
Working with all my parapros, I feel that it's necessary that whether they be one-on-one or integrated, meaning they work with a couple students, that they know everybody. Because you never know who's not going to be here, and sometimes it's difficult for just a random substitute to kind of step in for more challenging or difficult students. So I do let them know about their particular child and specifically what their role and responsibility is with that student. But at the same point, I want them to understand that their job is to assist them, not do for them. So they understand that their job is to promote their learning and take them to a level just to where they're almost at and kind of push them up to that. So they also understand that I don't expect that they do everything for the student. I don't expect that the kids need to ask and they need to learn those skills to problem solve and to work through. Additionally, I spend time so that they know every kid in the program. They know why they're here, they know what they're here for, and they know what some of the challenges we might have are. So they know, they can read, I can tell them, watch for this, maybe every 15 minutes when we're sitting, you might see some wiggling, watch for that. When they do that, I expect this. So they know when someone's gotten up with that child, they know why they left, and they know that they need to move over because the other child that they left might need that same support. So although some of them are tied technically to one student, they definitely provide that and do what they're supposed to with that child, but they can back away at times to allow that child independence and support the other kids in the classroom.
But it is a constant changing process, and some things work for some children and some things don't for others, and I think you can't look at a child when he comes in your door and feel like you have him figured out. I think you really have to be willing to change and modify and adapt their environment to make them successful. And our goal in all of that is that they don't need us. So I would like all of our kids, some of them can't, but I would like most of them to leave our classroom not needing us anymore. And that's where I find satisfaction in this job, is just seeing their growth, and they don't need me to help them with that anymore.
The value of my position is to give the opportunity to these children with specific needs to reach their potential. I feel very strongly in that these children can go above and beyond anything that they strive for, giving the right environment. They really can, and I believe that a lot of these children are not giving opportunities. So whenever you are at your job every day, give it your all, because these children are amazing and they can go really, really far if you just give them a chance, give them the patience, and give them the opportunity to show you what they're made of.
We recognize the importance of the role of paraeducator in our classrooms. They are a valuable source of support to the children, teachers, and related service providers. Their contribution helps students achieve outcomes and independence. In accordance with best practices, we encourage continuing education for paraeducators. Ongoing professional development opportunities should reflect the current needs of children that the paraeducators are supporting. In these difficult times of limited resources and increasing mandates, paraeducators provide the building blocks for children to reach their potential in the future. Thank you for joining us today.
Two steps. 1, 2. Other way.